Hello and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add or subtract two matrices. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to enter two matrices and I'm going to take some input from the keyboard. So the first thing I will do is that I will import the scanner class from the util package. All right. So that is needed for the scanner class, just to take inputs from the keyboard. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to declare some variables to take the number of rows and columns of a matrix. You know, when we talk about matrix, a matrix has got rows and columns, so declare variables to take number of rows and columns. Okay, so it's an int variable, or they are int variables. I am calling the variable to take the number of rows, and I'm calling the other one columns. That is the one to take the number of columns. So that is what I will do here too. All right, so right after this I will create a scanner object to take the input. Create scanner object to take input. All right, from keyboard. So scanner, and I'm calling it in. So I'll use the new keyword to create the object here, and I'm passing the object in to the scanner class so that I can take input from the keyboard. Okay, so now I can take the inputs. I want to type something out. I want to print something like this. Enter the number of rows. Okay, so I think that is okay. The number of rows of the matrix. All right, so that is okay. It should have been a double quote. So I'm gonna have this here, rows, and I'll use the in reference variable for the scanner class. I'll type next int. So I will take the number of rows here, and the next thing is going to be this. Let me copy the same code because I'm going to take the number of columns too. So copy, paste, and I will change this to columns. Okay, and of course I'll store the number of columns in the call variable. Okay, so after taking the number of rows and columns, I want to leave a space. So leave a space so that it will look nice on the console. And to do that, I'm going to call the print line method to print just an empty space here. And after this, now I have my number of rows and columns. So what I'm going to do here is that create three matrices. I'm going to create two-dimensional array for the matrix. So I'm calling this matrix 1, and then I'm going to use the number of rows that the user inputs here to create the matrix. That is the matrix 1, and I'll do the same thing for the matrix 2. So matrix 2, and I'm calling this 2. So matrix 2 here, and I'll do the last one. The last one will hold the result. That is, after adding or subtracting, the resulting matrix will be here. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to add. So I'll call this the matrix or matsum. And so now I have created three matrices. I can now input the actual values into these matrices. So this is what I'm going to do next. So inputs the elements of the matrices. So that's what I'm going to do here. So the first thing is that I'm going to input the elements in the first matrix. So let me write something. Okay, inputs the elements of the matrix 1. Okay, so that's what is going to happen here. So these are going to be the elements of matrix 1, and I'm going to use 2 for loops, that is nested for loops, to cycle through all the spaces, or let me say the elements of the matrices. You see, the matrix has got rows and columns. Because a matrix has got rows and columns, we are going to look at the 2. So the first one is the rows. So I will initialize a certain variable I, and this will be less than the number of rows. So that means that it will iterate from 0, but it should be less than the number of rows. So if you enter, say, 2 for rows, I is going to iterate for 0 and 1. So after every iteration, there has to be an update. So there is the rows, and then I'll add another for loop here, and this one will be for the column, and the column 2, this will iterate less than the column. Then after every iteration, there's going to be an increment here. So what is actually going to happen here is that, let me write something here. So system.out.print, and I want to write something here as a row. Then I want the number here, so row 1, and because I is starting from 0, I'm going to add 1 to 0. So row 1 plus I, so that means row 1. Then let me add something here, then comma, column, and the column 2 will be, and J also starts from 0, so I'm going to write 1 plus J, and that will be 1 plus 0. So that means that it is going to read from 1. Then let me add the last thing here. So okay, so this is what it's going to be. Then we are taking the input, so it will go to matrix 1. So that is the first matrix here, and the first one will go to the 0 0. So I and J will start from 0, so we have 0 0, 0 1, 1 0, then 1 1. So here I'll call the scanner object again, then I'll put in the value of that element. Okay, so that is that. So it will cycle through all the spaces. For instance, if you type, say, 2 for the rows and 2 for the columns, it is going to start from the first row, first column, first row, second column, second row, first column, and second row, second column. So we are going to have something like 0 0, 0 1, 1 0, and 1 1. So that is the first matrix. And after entering the first matrix, let us leave a space again so that the console will look a little bit neat. Okay, so leave a space. Okay, then we are going to enter the values for matrix 2. So I'm going to copy this code and just edit it a little bit. So input the elements of mat 2. Okay, so that is okay here, and then we are going to go through the same thing here. So the matrix 2 2, the number of rows and columns are going to be the same. So but what is going to change here is that I am now inputting it in matrix 2, not matrix 1. Okay, so after inputting everything, I'm going to leave another space here. So I'll copy this and bring it down here, space, so that the console will look neat. Then, well, the next thing is that I have to add the 2 matrices, because I've input all the 2 matrices. So add the members or elements of the 2 matrices. Okay, so I'm going to copy the same thing here, because no, not this one, I'm talking about this. Okay, let me copy it here, but I have to do some editing here. I'm gonna change this, I'm not going to print this out anymore. I don't need this anymore. So here, system.out input the elements. That's not what I'm doing here. So let me take this off because this is not even necessary. So I'm adding the members here, and then here too I'm not taking anything from the console anymore. Let me do this here. I'm coming. All right, so here I am adding and putting the sum in the mat sum, and what I'm doing here is that I'm taking the elements in mat 1. So mat 1, I'm taking the elements here. I'll take the corresponding element, that is I, and then J here. Okay, then I'll add it to the mat 2. All right, so the mat 2 I have the I, and then the J2 there. Okay, so that is what is happening here. So there will be addition here. All right, so the last thing that we are going to do here is to print the matrix out. So I'll say print the resulting matrix. So I'm going to use this to cycle through the same thing to print out the resulting matrix. So let me copy this from here. Okay, so I'm going to put something down here. The resulting matrix is okay. So what I'm gonna print here is the matrix sum. So matrix sum, and I'll start from I, then I'll go to J, and after that I want to leave a space here, and I want to delete this one from there. But if you look at a matrix, a matrix has got rows and columns, and what you have to understand is that after each row, that is after filling each complete row, it has to go down to the next row. So what I'm saying here is that after the inner for loop has iterated completely and printed the elements of a particular row, I have to move down. So right after this for loop, that is the inner loop, the nested for loop, I will type something here within the outer one, and that will move the cursor to the next line. So go to the next line. Okay, so that is what is happening here. So immediately that is done, after printing everything, it comes down to the next line. All right, so that is what we have here, and I'm going to try this so that we see how it works. All right, so enter the number of rows. I want to try a 2 by 2 matrix, so the number of rows is 2. All right, enter the number of columns. Let me use 2 again. Input the elements of mat 1, that is matrix 1, row 1, column 1, let me say 1, row 2, column 2, let me say 2, row 2, column 1. So that is the second row. So you can see that the first one, we have the first row, and we have the first row, first column, the first row, second column, then now we have the second row, the first column. All right, so here I have 1 2, let me use 3 here, and the next one 4. All right, so a space is left, and I am to go to the next line, and it says that input the elements of matrix 2, and I'm to start again row 1, column 1. So that is also going to be 1 2 3 4. Then it says that the resulting matrix is 2 4 6 6, and of course it makes sense, because if the first one, if I add 1 to 1, I get 2 for the row 1, column 1. If I add 2 to 2, I get 4, because 2 here is row 1, column 2, and row 1, column 2 I have 2 here. So 2 plus 2 is 4 on row 1, column 2. And if I pick row 2, column 1 is 3, then row 2 column 1 2 is 3, and that is row 2 column 1, and 3 plus 3 is 6. If I pick this row 2 column 2, that is 4, and row 2 column 2 here 2 is 4, and 4 plus 4 2 is 8. You can try others and see if you can try another one. Maybe let's pick the rows to be 2 and the columns to be 3. Okay, so let me put any number there, 5 here, maybe 4 here, maybe negative 1. Let me put 0. Okay, so and well, what should I put here? 6. It's 5. Then the next one, let me try something. 7 5 3 2 0, and maybe let me put negative 14. Okay, and this is what we get in here. So we have a 2 by 3 matrix. So the row 1 column 1 is 5, row 1 column 1 here 2 is 7, and 5 plus 7 is 12. We have row 1 column 2 is 4, and here to row 1 column 2 is 5, and 4 plus 5 is 9. And we have row 1 column 3 is negative 1, and row 1 column 3 is 3, and 3 plus negative 1 is 2. So we have it there. So you can see that we have all the answers here. So that is how you add two matrices. If you want to subtract, it is as simple as that. You just have to change what is happening over here. Here we are adding the members of the two matrices. So all that we have to do is to change this plus to minus, and that's all. So I can change this and maybe comments it with subtract the two matrices, and when I run this and I put anything there, okay, let me check. Let me take it just 2 by 2 so that will be very faster. So we can have 4 6 3 anything here. Okay, no, let me take something small so that it looks nicer. 9, maybe 4 3. So let us see this. When we take row 1 column 1 4, then 1, so 4 minus 1 is 3. Then we have 6 minus 9 is negative 3. Then we have 3 minus 4 is negative 1. And we have 5 minus 3 is 2. So that is how we subtract two matrices.